Ladies and gentlemen, this is really good, really wonderful and honorable, good, I guess, journalism or social media protocol. I mean, what an honorable thing. So, Dorsey today, what an honorable, wonderful thing. Wow, so great. Says blocking the New York Post's Hunter story was a total mistake, but won't say who made it. Oh, that's good. The article goes on to say, Twitter doesn't have a censoring department that blocked the Post from tweeting last fall, Twitter CEO said Thursday, but he wouldn't reveal who was responsible for the blunder. Wow, that's really interesting. It's interesting how all these blunders and all the miscommunication and all the suspension of accounts. So they did suspend the New York Post's account They suspended the New York Post's account because Democrats made baseless claims stating that Russia either infiltrated Hunter's emails or that Putin was responsible for disinformation. Now we're finding out that actually the Russians wanted us to know about Biden's son's nefarious emails, which were overt, like, pay-to-play quid pro quo schemes. It's right there. The emails show he literally wrote he gives 10% to the big man, referring to his father. There are emails from his employers saying, how can you use your influence on behalf of the company? There are emails that prove our beloved President Biden was lying through his teeth when he said he didn't know of his son's business activities. He literally met with people in meetings brokered by his son to either convey the image or the possibility that they could acquire access to the highest levels of the U.S. government. It's in the email transactions. Now Democrats are saying, well, we don't know if the meetings happened or there's no record of the meetings. Well, why would you keep a record, number one? Number two, are the emails genuine and legitimate, and were they actually emails that belong to Hunter? Just like the Second Amendment that his girlfriend threw into a trash bin outside of a convenience store near a high school. I've done 2 segments on that prior. So please watch the last 2. You can't make this up. And the Secret Service got involved and protected and saved his behind. So he is just throwing his Second Amendment into dumpsters. He's leaving laptops in the mail. Leaving even just as bad, even worse, at a computer repair store. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. I am the only one, I think, in all of YouTube talking about this at this moment. So it's a story that really nobody's talking about. But this is the New York Post. I'll keep reading. Twitter also locked the Post out of its account for more than 2 weeks over baseless charges that the expose used hacked information, a decision Dorsey chalked up as a process error. Wow. It's interesting. All of these process errors and all this lack of judgment always results in information detrimental to the Democratic Party being suppressed. That's so interesting. What a coinky-dink. You know what? I totally trust Twitter. They're a fantastic company that definitely doesn't manipulate algorithms and focus on elevating anything detrimental to Trump while suppressing anything that could be harmful or detrimental to the Democratic Party. That certainly doesn't happen. My God almighty. Now, months after a seemingly desired outcome by the employees at Twitter, it's unbelievable. It was literally just a process error. This was not against them in any particular way. the Twitter CEO told the House Energy and Commerce Committee. When people are blatantly lying like this, let's assume for a second, I'm only assuming, I can't tell you if he's absolutely categorically not telling the truth deliberately, but when you have a billionaire who runs a social media platform that will eventually be the MySpace of politics, because they're going into a subscription-based service now. They're looking now for anything that can generate revenue to make up for the dwindling ad revenue, or the ad revenue that's not growing fast enough. So it was literally a process error. This was not against them in a particular way. This was during the height of campaign season. This was a legitimate story that the New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, the Daily Beast, Esquire, Vanity Fair, Time Magazine, the New Yorker, the Atlantic, Mother Jones, The Nation, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Trevor Noah, Stephen Colbert, James Corden, John Oliver, all of Hollywood Twitter, all of Hollywood, intelligence operatives, the whole mishpacha, the whole planet that obsessed over Trump did not touch with a 10-foot pole because it would hurt their political objectives. This is the world we live in. And now they're blaming atrocities on Trump, his words from weeks ago. They're not even talking about the dire economic situation that Democrats caused. The atrocities have been taking place in Democratic-run areas generally. So Democrats or states that voted Democrat. So you can look, and the failure of the Democratic Party is now being set aside or circumvented by Trump's words yet again. Trump, they have given so much, they have amplified Trump's words and then said, oh my God, his words seeped into the minds of really horrible human beings. You've amplified everything you didn't like that he said has been constantly amplified. But here, Twitter admits it made a mistake in censoring photos on the southern geographic region of the country. Anything that, the Biden presidency has been an unmitigated disaster thus far. And there hasn't even been enough reporting on it. We know that these are tragedies, and we know that there's numerous crises that isn't, there's no outrage, there's no moral indignation, there's no AOC looking into the horizon and comparing Biden's facilities to, basically making revisionist historical claims, basically denial claims. And Yad Vashem had to refute, literally Yad Vashem in Jerusalem had to refute AOC when she was pontificating about a topic she should never discuss again. I wrote about that in the Jerusalem Post op-ed. Go to hagoodman.com, read my writing in the Jerusalem Post, the Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Federalist, the Daily Caller, the Roanoke Times. You can see my debates. To my new Patreons, thank you so very much. Scott, thank you again. Thank you for your generosity, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to support my voice long-term via Patreon, my Patreon link is below in the pinned comment description and on hagoodman.com. But what can I tell you? Twitter now apologizes for doing everything possible to suppress information detrimental to the Democratic Party. It's like... This is what they do all the time. There's a barrage, an onslaught of negative media coverage. It could be blaming Trump for the pandemic, which wasn't his fault. We know now that Andrew Cuomo not only put infected people into elderly care facilities, but he put his brother in front of every other New Yorker in terms of getting help. So you can look up that story. I mean, you have actual real monsters in Cuomo who used to, you have to understand, This is the nature of media today. Twitter apologizes for what was blatantly wrong at the height of campaign season to suppress a story detrimental to the Democratic Party and to Biden, while at the same time, Andrew Cuomo wrote a book on leadership lessons of the crisis pertaining to the crisis of the past year. That's like Jeffrey Dahmer writing a cookbook. Okay, but see, that's media. Now you have articles. How did Andrew Cuomo evade responsibility for so long? Well, maybe the U.S. media has been focused on scapegoating one man, making one orange monster, orange nightmare, the scapegoat for everyone's problems. And, like, President Trump, like, a tiny part of it was brought on by his Twitter persona. President Trump shouldn't have insulted LeBron James. He shouldn't have insulted NFL athletes because it overshadowed his accomplishments. Trump allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. He signed prison reform legislation. He signed an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. He presided over the Abraham Accords. He was the first president to step foot in North Korea. President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. But again, Trump's words overshadowed everything. All the problems and ills and atrocities and horrible things that take place in society, in Democratic-run cities, by the way, they're all attributed to Trump's words. Trump's words are so toxic that Democrats love to amplify them endlessly. It's like this bizarre fascination that they have this unhealthy obsession with Trump. So they amplify and they, obsess over every word he says. And then the narrative is, my God, how could anyone, how is this man, all his negative, heated, extreme rhetoric, it's hurting the country. Then why do you obsess over everything he says, if that's true? Or maybe what you're doing is you're utilizing Trump as a scapegoat to circumvent your own failed policies, your own inept response to real-life issues. And Democrats have the smallest majority in Congress in decades, one of the smallest majorities in Congress in the history of the country. Yet they have all of late night, every Saturday Night Live, every single element of American society is predicated upon, let me just teach you, let me moralize, and it's like they don't want to address what's actually happening. Then you have friends or family like, I can't be your friend anymore. You like Trump, and therefore you agree with this and that. Oh, did you agree with President Obama's NATO intervention that literally caused a country to become a failed state, where human beings are being bought and sold now, and there's been nothing but sorrow and suffering in Libya for the past 10 years because of President Obama, who won the Nobel Peace Prize? Democrats and politics in this day and age is pure public relations. Okay, Russian Facebook ads are not national security. That has nothing to do with national security. It didn't influence anyone. They spent 4 years trying to disparage and call Trump an illegitimate president, and God forbid, if you return the favor to Democrats, God forbid it would be the end. That's what they do all the time. That's what they do all the time. They say, and they even criminalize suspicion, or they impeach Trump for having the audacity to be suspicious of Biden. After the election, we find out, oh yeah, by the way, the federal government is investigating Biden's son for exactly what Trump was talking about Biden having potentially taken part in. So you have a problem, ladies and gentlemen, with this. This is a really, really unfortunate situation that needs to be addressed by a Republican Party that has people who hopefully will be more courageous than Mitt Romney or Ben Sasse. You need more people like Rand Paul. You need more people like Devin Nunes. You need more people like Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Doug Collins, Ron DeSantis, who was a governor that should have written a book on leadership lessons. You had Andrew Cuomo, Whitmer in Michigan, Wolf in Pennsylvania. Phil Murphy could be even worse than Andrew Cuomo. And God bless the people of New York and New Jersey. What Democrats did when they were in power was like criminal, literally. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. I'll be back in a couple of hours. Thank you.